My meaning abundantly and completely clear if I can. The United States deplores any war, cold or otherwise. Its only desire is to live in peace and freedom and to let all other peoples live in peace and freedom. In that spirit, we declare that so far as we are concerned, Africa shall never be the scene of any war, cold or hot. But we also declare that Africa for the Africans means Africa for the Africans, and not Africa as a hunting ground for alien ambition.
The Cold War was a period of geopolitical tension between the Soviet Union and the United States and its allies that lasted from 1947 to 1991. For the Eastern Bloc, the Cold War was a time period in which the USSR attempted to internationally increase Soviet influence through the spread of communism. For the Western Bloc, the Cold War was a time period in which the U.S. and its allies attempted to contain Soviet power. Caught in between these Cold War relations was the Democratic Republic of the Congo, a country in Central Africa whose independence movement acted in parallel to the Cold War and was greatly influenced by Cold War relations and ideologies.
So the Congo definitely played a significant role in the development of the Cold War. The USSR was a key component in championing the decolonization of a lot of African countries, including the Congo. So that was one thing. But also the USSR viewed the Congo as a tactical ally for economic purposes. The mineral wealth in the Congo was something that the USSR was interested in. In addition, the Congo is located in Central Africa, so it shares a lot of borders with different countries, and the USSR believed that that could be a key component in spreading their communist agenda.
The Cold War had a significant impact on the Congo because it coincided with a period of decolonization within the country. During the decolonization period in Africa, which encompassed the redistribution of power, many of the European superpowers had encouraged the creation of a continent-wide state system. These systems allowed African leaders to gain political power under European rule. Some African leaders worked against their European colonizers, and some worked with them. But overall, this independent state system acted as a system of sovereignty that helped secure the positions of retreating European imperialists and emergent nationalist elites.
Within the context of the Cold War, state systems gave the United States and its European allies a way to control the decolonization of Africa and a way to delay the granting of independence to African countries. The USSR recognized this and decided to support these countries, which ended up fueling the Cold War tensions. The United States was fearful of this because they realized that it could support the spread of communism in these countries, which in fact it did. The USSR supporting these countries led to the social and cultural changing in Africa. Cold War relations had a significant impact on the independence movements in the Congos because it changed the way anti-colonial sentiments were expressed and made national independence the ideal.
At the time of the Congo crisis, decolonization worked as both the process and historical period. As the era of decolonization in Africa progressed, European political control began to give way to African self-rule. Culturally and politically, however, the influence of European dominance was still prominent. Within the Congo, by the mid-1950s, Belgium had shown some efforts in providing the Congo with an eventual increased self-government. But that quickly changed as the European superpower began to lose control following several serious nationalist riots. In 1960, Patrice Lumumba, a Congolese politician, became the prime minister of the independent Congo. Soon after, Belgian troops were sent in to protect Belgian citizens and mining interests. While Belgium looked towards its Western allies for aid, there was speculation that Lumumba established diplomatic relations with Moscow, China, and other socialist states in order to gain leverage against Western powers. In recognizing that, the U.S. supported Belgium's efforts of consolidating European power.
After the peak of the Congo crisis, of course, much of the Cold War impacted the country. The U.S. and its Western allies grew increasingly afraid of the Congo and USSR intervention. In addition to all of this, Lumumba and his influential role and his affiliations with the USSR made his assassination, or in general, his removal, top of their priorities. So the U.S. decided to team up with Mobutu Sese Seko, Chief of Staff of the Army, who, with Belgium, decided to team up and assassinate Lumumba.
Even after the crisis, Cold War relations still had a significant impact on the Congo and played a significant role in Congolese politics. After the crisis in 1965, Mobutu Sese Seko became president of the new sovereign state of the Congo. Once established as the sole source of political power, Mobutu gradually consolidated his control in the Congo. Slowly, the autonomy of Congolese provinces was reduced, and Mobutu established a sole legal political party. In practice, Seko had developed a far-right totalitarian regime. At the same time, a number of African heads of states throughout Central Africa had declared their alignment with the socialist movement, which was spreading under USSR influence. In an effort to suppress the spread of socialism and communism in Congo, Mobutu received strong military, diplomatic, and economic support from the US, France, and Belgium. In addition, beginning in 1972, Mobutu also received support from Mao Zedong of China due to his anti-Soviet stance. Through his support, Mobutu amassed vast personal wealth through economic exploitation and corruption, which drew the nation into a period of uncontrolled inflation. Likewise, in return for their support, the U.S. and its Western allies received security through Mobutu's rule, as well as economic gains through the substantial mineral wealth the Congo held.
Ultimately, I would say that Mobutu's dictatorship in the Congo was successful in part because the United States provided support that allowed him to maintain such a dominant role in the Congo for so long. This support was also received by the United States because Mobutu acted as a component in the Congo to reduce the spread of communism, which again aligned with the Western Bloc's intentions in the Cold War.
In November of 1991, the Berlin Wall fell, which had a significant impact on the political climate in Africa. With the collapse of the wall and the ultimate collapse of the USSR, many African dictators who had been supported by the Soviets lost their significance and control. Likewise, analysts have found that the fall of the Soviet Union led to democratization across much of Africa. Although Mobutu had been supported by the West, his dictatorship was still affected by this new, variable political climate in Africa. That same year, thanks to growing tensions against Mobutu and the closing of the Cold War, he agreed to end his ban on political parties. However, despite his reform, Mobutu still retained dominant control of the Congolese government, which fueled growing tensions among rebel groups. From 1996 to 1997, aided by foreign government forces from Uganda and Rwanda, rebels launched an attack to overthrow Mobutu. Eventually, he was removed from office and exiled to Morocco, where he died at the age of 66. Overall, the Congo acted as an unexpected source of Cold War tensions. In its entirety, both the USSR and the US viewed African independence through the lens of the Cold War and directly asserted themselves within many African independence movements. The Congo was not exempt from these relations. The Congo crisis was viewed as an opportunity for both the U.S. and the USSR to engage in protecting Congolese politics from opposing ideologies. During the crisis, the USSR appealed to Lumumba in fueling an independence movement based on communist undertones. After Lumumba's assassination, however, the U.S. gradually regained its Western influence within the country by appealing to Mobutu and supporting his regime. Mobutu was the sole leader of the Congo for nearly 30 years, but just as his rule began through the Cold War, it also ended because of it. Today, late 19th century imperialism continues to shape the political climate of the Congo. More than 80% of Congolese people live in poverty and political upheaval. And in influencing the political agendas of the prominent Congolese figures, the Cold War acted as a prominent player in shaping how the Congo functions today.